Round number 7 of the 2017 season brings us to the Sunshine State. Down here, Five Flags Speedway tonight, the home of a big late model race in the Snowball Derby, but host tonight to the JSRL Spike Chassis Sprint Car Series alongside Mr. K.R. Stolfus and Brett Strickler. I'm Ryan Kent Jr. Hello and welcome to a probably at least where it is here in Indiana where I'm at. A little bit warmer there down south. Tonight, the pavement sprint cars take to the speedway here at Five Flags. This half-mile racetrack, posting up some pretty fast times already. Times in practice just inside the 14-second bracket. Bo Brunig, a former winner this season on the dirt, is leading us in practice right now at a time of 14.854 seconds. Good to get the gang back together here, as I mentioned, with K.R. Stolfus and Mr. Brett Strickler. I'm Ryan Kent Jr. After a week off last week, a lot of people messing around with little things called midgets and the Knoxville Raceway back here on the pavement at Five Flags. Last time we had an official series race was Williams Grove Speedway back on November the 27th. That saw Bo Brunig pick up his third win of the season. All 3 wins of his this year have been on dirt. Kicked it off at USA International Speedway, then won at Eldora, then won at Williams Grove Speedway. Here we come to the pavement, what is pretty much a month of pavement, as next week we'll be at New Smyrna. And then we're off, and then January brings us the month of dirt early on, then we finish up with 2 pavement races at Iowa on January 22nd, and Lucas Oil Raceway on January the 29th. This Five Flags Speedway, located in Pensacola, Florida, half a mile in distance. Tonight's setup, cars will have single car qualifying set to go off here momentarily. With that, Mr. Brett Strickler, excited to get back out of here tonight, my friend. Practice the track will carry over into qualifying, and then we'll carry that over into our race here tonight. Set to go 100 laps. That's a lot of times around here this half mile, Mr. Brett Strickler.
Absolutely, Ryan. Looking forward to tonight. I had a little bit of my own technology changes and whatnot with my own personal system, so I sound a little different tonight as previous broadcasts. That's why. But one thing that I did like that you did say in that chat there, Ryan, was that Bo Brunig has 3 wins, all coming on dirt, which I thought that was pretty interesting for you to point out, because if we go back up and look at the results, we've had 3 official races on dirt: USA, Eldora, and Williams Grove, all of which have been won by Brunig. We don't have a different winner on dirt.
In terms of pavement races so far this season, Dan Smith picking up the win at Lucas Oil Raceway. He was also our winner a couple of weeks ago at the Turkey Day Grand Prix at the Irwindale Speedway. And then our other race this season, Jeffrey Stanton picking up the win at Phoenix. So 6 races in through this season. And we've got a number of different winners. First car making his way to the speedway, car number 56. That is the machine of Mr. David Flick. David, not a full-time regular here with the series. Set to go qualifying here in Pensacola. He'll roll through turns 3 and 4, come off of turn number 4, take the green flag for his first qualifying lap on the clock here at Five Flags. His first lap on the clock, a 15.410. 15.410. 410, nice and fitting. These cars, 410 cubic inches of power under the hoods. His second lap. Clocks in. And a little bit slower.
Taking the green flag here, Ryan, for his first lap of qualifying is number 83 of Dan Holmes. Dan Holmes on the speedway. Dan resides out of Califron, New Jersey. Coming across the line here for his first lap. He will come in 3/10 behind David Flick, so David Flick will still remain on top of the board right now. Dan Holmes drives that Schmidt Beer Chevrolet Spike Chassis number 83 as he looks to improve his second lap. Lap number 2 coming across the line for Dan Holmes. A 10th quicker, but it will not be quick enough to advance in the points or the qualifying standings.
Car next up onto the speedway, car number 7. Here's Rich Foreman. Rich, not a regular runner here with the JSRL Spike Chassis Sprint Car Series. Spends a lot of time on the road with United States Auto Club. His first lap, 15.649 on lap number 1. That's currently third quickest out of 3 cars. We'll come off of turn number 4 for Rich's second lap. And that one is going to be even faster, a 15.326 preliminary pole for Mr. Rich Foreman in car 7.
Taking the green flag now, entering turns number 1. That bright green, black and white, number 12, residing out of Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. This is Jason Brown. Jason Brown, one of our regulars here with us tonight, putting in his first lap, looking to top the board. And he does with a 15.256, 15256. That is quick time for the number 12 of Jason Brown. The Nightmare himself rolls off of turn number 4. Can he make his lap time even better? He does. He breaks the 14-second bracket with a 14994. 14.994 for the number 12 of Jason Brown. That is quick time so far tonight.
So Jason Brown hops to the top of the board, the first car to peek his eyes into that 14-second bracket. Next up on the speedway, car number 46, a very striking looking yellow and black machine. Maybe we can start calling him the Bumblebee. That's the machine of Mr. Ron Quinzel. Ron, out of St. Petersburg, Florida, the Live Strong, number 46. He'll finish his first qualifying lap at a 15.115. Second quickest so far for Mr. Quinzel. That low side into 3 and 4. Apex is off the corner. His second lap, they're right up next to the wall. Comes across the stripe at a time. Must have had a little bit of contact with the wall as his second lap did not register. So 15.115 there for Ron Quinzel in second quick.
Just taking the green flag now, rolling down the backstretch. Residing out of Piscataway, New Jersey, the Advanced Auto Parts, number 17. This is Jim Vig. Lap number 1 for Jim Vig comes in at second quick with a 15.113.15113. Jim Vig into your second place through qualifying. I believe I see Coca-Cola on that car as well. Fitting for the paint scheme, then second lap better at a 15053, about a 10th quicker for Jim Vig on his second lap around.
Here's Alex Orion set to make his qualifying laps around the Five Flags Speedway in a pretty basic looking white number 9 machine. He pilots the Locotoco Designs, try saying that 3 times fast, Core Life Eatery Guitars for Glory number 9 for the driver from Rochester, New York. His first time clocks in 5th quick on the timesheets, a 15.349. Second lap around for Orions, goes to second quick at a 15.024 for number 9 of Don't Call Me Oreo, Alex Orions.
Rolling out of turn number 4 now, driving in number 47. Out of Carbondale, Illinois, to Sam Pierce Chevrolet RE Enterprises, Evan Jackson Racing Engines, AP Drive Development, Dayskins, Bike Chassis. This is your 2-time JSRL feature winner this season, Dan Smith. Lap number 1 coming in from number 47 in the FX at 15.071. That is 4th quick. We have seen drivers turn their second lap as their fastest lap. Dan is known to be smooth on the asphalt. Will he top the leaderboard? He does by 0.09 of a second. Dan Smith quick time with 14906, 14.906. Dan Smith topping your leaderboard so far.
Here's your current series points leader. He holds a 42-point lead over Jim Vig coming into tonight from Tinley Park, Illinois, the Pepsi number 50. is Bo Brunig. Bo Brunig here in car number 50. Fastest in the practice sessions for Brunig. And he's going to go to, wow, surprisingly 8th quick. One off the bottom so far for Mr. Bo Brunig on lap number 1. His second lap as he works off of turn number 4 and he spins across the stripe. My goodness, must have made some contact as well. Not a good qualifying effort at all for Bo Brunig. He's going to sit right now with one car left to go in the 8th position.
One car left to go here, Ryan. It seems that the number 10 of Justin Carey is missing the call. Not present for qualifying at the time being. Definitely a tough break, though, for Brunig. Brunig was, I believe, was he quickest in time in practice? He was. He was quickest in practice by 0.02 of a second over Dan Smith, and now he's got to start from the tail end of the field here.
So here's your qualifying rundown and what will be your starting lineup for tonight's 100-lap main event. With the pole in car number 47, a two-time winner already this season with the series, is Dan Smith in the 47 with a time of 14.906. Jason Brown comes in second fastest with Alex Orien's Jim Big and Ron Quinzel rounding out your top 5. Rich Foreman comes in 6th quickest. David Fleck, Bo Brunig, and Dan Holmes positions 6 through 9. Our feature lineup is now set to go for 100 laps, Mr. Strickler.
Yeah, looking like a little bit of teammate front row here with the 47 and 12 there in the front row, 2 quickest guys through qualifying. I think maybe we might have had a mix-up there. Brunig could have kept that car straight and not sliding around here on the asphalt. Let's see if our pit reporter can pull our quick time trial up here for us.
All right, listen, what these guys did is they got out on the track, they put the hammer down, they turned the wheels some, and then they ended up getting a time.
That's great insight from Mr. K.R. Stolfus. Great insight on exactly what goes through these guys' minds when they're rolling around the Five Flag Speedway. Appreciate the insight there, K.R. Great job as always.
You know, I do what I can with what I got.
Well, right now you got a whole lot of nothing. So here's your starting lineup for tonight's 100-lap main event, which is slated to go 2 hours. If we're here 2 hours, I guess KR is paying us overtime and taking care of our something else. Mr. Brett Strickler, about ready to go for 100 laps of feature racing, my friend.
Hey, what? Last time we saw our 100-lapper on Irwindale proved to be some great racing. We had a late caution last time. I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, it was around lap 75. Allowed a few guys. I believe Jason Brown got fresh tires, and he came running up to the front and ended up getting a podium finish, I believe. So we're gonna have to see how this one pans out. It's a long race. We always, every single time we get together, we talk about how the best time to make a move is not always within the first 10, 15 laps, but rather the last 10, 15 laps. And we've seen that Dan Smith is super good with his car late in the race, or managing tires and being productive. All right, Ryan, let's go through our feature lineup here for us tonight. Sharing the front row, teammates driving the number 47, your pole sitter and fastest in qualifying, the number 47, Dan Smith. Outside of him, position number 2, driving the number 12 in that beautiful J-Skins car, Jason Brown.
On the inside of row number 2, in car number 9, from Rochester, New York, the Loco Toco Designs, Core Life Eatery, Guitarist for Glory, number 9 of Alex Orient. To his outside in the 17 is Jim Vig. He currently sits second in the series points from Piscataway, New Jersey.
Row number 3 looks like this, driving the number 46. Starting position number 5 is Ron Quinzel. Outside of him is the number 7 of Rich Foreman. Rich Foreman 6th quick through qualifying with our P6.
On the inside of row number 4 sits the 56 machine of David Fleck, and to his outside in the 50. Your current series points leader is Bo Brunig.
Row number 5, starting position number 9, your part-time commentator, Dan Holmes, driving the number 83. Dan Holmes resides out of Califron, New Jersey, in that Schmidt-Beer Chevrolet Spike chassis car. And missing qualifying, and looks like he's going to miss the field tonight, Ryan, will be the number 10 of Justin Carey. So we have 9 cars lined up and ready to rock and roll here at Five Flag Speedway.
Pace car will pull to the infield. Dan Smith and Jason Brown lead us to green. Round number 7, 2017 season is underway here in Pensacola with Dan Smith charging out to an early lead, but his teammate Jason Brown a car length behind him off of turn number 2.
Give lap number 1 to the teammates. 1-2 across the stripe very early. We're gonna have to see how this one pans out. Both drivers love winning. Maybe they'll use their bumpers on each other to when it gets late in the race. You never know here, Ryan.
In terms of lap times being turned right now, you're seeing about 3 to 4 tenths higher than what we did in terms of qualifying. But as you know, Brett, in terms of being behind the wheel of a real-world sprint car, but you're on the dirt and without a wing, or with a wing rather than on the pavement without wings. Tire wear, oh so important, especially in a 100-lap race, and these guys have to try to burn off a fuel load, and that's going to really change how these cars act going from lap 1 to lap 50 to lap 100.
Tire wear is going to be the biggest key, I think, here, Ryan. When we were at Irwindale, let's not forget that Dan Smith went the entire length of the race without having to pit, which means that he was able to maintain that car super well. And let's not forget that up until that caution, he had nearly a 7, 8, 9 second lead, I believe.
Dan Smith had blown everybody away. He currently holds a 0.2 of a second lead over Jason Brown. And an 0.8 of a second lead over Jim Vig. Bo Brunig started in the 8th spot, up to 6th, sitting right now. As Dan Smith rolls across the stripe, still holding that 0.2 of a second lead. Jason Brown trying to find a way, working to the low side of Dan Smith, and he's going to take the lead off of turn number 4. We've got a lead change on lap number 9. Jason Brown to the point.
Oh, Ryan, I wonder if that was a little bit of a courtesy move there by Dan Smith, or maybe Dan Smith was just proving maybe he's not going to drive deep into the corner like Jason is willing to right now. Dan might be saving his tires for later on.
And we know that Dan doesn't have a problem keeping up with Jason, but rather, like you said, see just how hard Jason's going to push himself. Jason qualifying in that 2nd position, started on the outside of the front row. And also how hard these guys push each other. You can see a pretty wide racetrack here in Pensacola. You can go 2, 3, let's not try to push it maybe to 4 wide, but there's a lot of grooves here. A lot of driver involved with exactly where you want to run. Dan Smith choosing to run on that last time by a little bit lower, but we've seen him roll to the high side of the speedway, roll right through the middle. See Dan Smith there. We're right on board with him. Sitting in that 2nd position, you're looking back at the 9 machine of Alex Oriens.
We take a quick look here, Ryan. Our point leader, Bo Brunig, who had troubles through qualifying, fastest in practice. Not a whole lot of movement right now through the race. 2 guys have advanced 2 positions, and those 2 guys are Dan Holmes and Bo Brunig, both of which started 9th and 8th. Both have advanced 2 positions. Brunig resides in 6th, and Dan Holmes in 7th. Will tonight be a big night for Jim Vig to close that gap? Jim Vig sitting inside your top 5. He's 42 points out of the lead on Brunig. Currently sitting, well, actually now one position ahead of Brunig. Brunig just made a pass on Ron Quintel to crack the top 5.
As you just mentioned there, Brett, Bo Brunig sits in that 5th spot. Jason Brown, your leader. Dan Smith sits 2nd. Alex Oriens 3rd. Jim Vig 4th, and Brunig rounding out your top 5 here on lap number 19. We're already about a fifth of the way through, and we've only been racing for a little less than about 7 minutes or so since this race went green flag. Your point standings coming into tonight here in Pensacola. Bo Bruning holds a 42-point lead over Jim Vig. And then it's back to Dan Holmes. So it's so important for Bruning to stay as close to Vig as he possibly can. Dan Holmes currently running in that 7th spot. 2 spots behind, now 3 spots behind Bruning, as Bruning has gotten past Vig and into the 4th spot.
I'm going to say, Ryan, let's not forget about Dan Holmes himself either if we take a quick look at the point standing. Second place is Jim Vig, only 42 points out of the lead, but right behind him, very close, in 3rd is Dan Holmes, and he's only 48 points out of the lead. So only 6 points separates positions 2 and 3, as they're both relatively equal in terms of being close to the point leader. But as of right now, Dan Holmes sits outside the top 5, and Brunig and Jim Vig both are in the top 5.
Speaking of another Dan, Dan Smith, 0.2 of a second behind Jason Brown. Jason Brown is your leader. Dan Smith sits 2nd. Smith has gotten back on the loud pedal a little bit and started to munch after that 12 machine.
I'm pretty curious here, Ryan, if Dan Smith is playing a little bit of cat and mouse with his teammate here.
That lead shrunken down by about 5 thousandths of a second the last time by. Just inside 0.2. This time by. Off of turn number 4, the lead sits it a little bit higher this last time by, just above 0.2 of a second. For Jason Brown, you can see that Dan Smith running a little bit higher to enter the corner, running a bit lower on the exit of the corner. Just how he's rolling around the speedway. Bo Brunig up to the 3rd spot. And I would have to do some guessing that those top 3, being all allies, teammates, are probably running a pretty similar setup if they're not all in the exact same setup, as Dan Smith is getting even closer to that back bumper, the glowing green bumper of Jason Brown this time into turn number 1 on lap 30.
What an impressive start here by the number 50 of Bo Brunig. Brunig has that Bass Pro Shops number 50 machine on a rail, advancing 5 positions from his 8th starting spot. He's now on the podium with about 70 laps remaining, so let's not forget that there's still a lot of this race left to be run. We might even see a caution flag in between now and then like we did at Irwindale.
And I would venture to guess that pretty soon we're also going to be getting into lap traffic. The first car that they will be seeing is David Fleck. In terms of live timing and scoring, he's currently shown 13 seconds behind. So give or take within 5 to 10 laps, Brett, we're going to be into lap traffic. And we know all too well, and so do these guys, that when we were on pavement at both Irwindale and at Phoenix, that the lap traffic can completely change a race.
Absolutely. I think the one big difference here between Irwindale and here at Pensacola at Five Flags is that the track pretty much different. We saw the line, the preferred line at Irwindale was, if you take in reference to Five Flags here, if you look at the 2 dotted lines that run the whole track, it was pretty much above that top dotted line at Irwindale. But here at Five Flags, they're hugging that inside line. And maybe that'll prove to be crucial when we get up on the lap cars, as we just passed the number 56 of David Fleck, Jason Brown and Dan Smith, both clearing them without trouble. But maybe we're going to get up behind one of these lap cars and they're not going to be paying attention, or they're going to be hogging the preferred line, and we might end up having a little bit more on our hands here.
Well, that's something where if you've been paying attention here, is Dan Smith. Right now he's running up above that second dotted line Jason Brown running below the first dotted line. I think Dan Smith's pretty comfortable. He can stick that car anywhere that he wants to right now.
Yeah, that lap right there, Ryan, he lost about 2/10. If you looked at him going into turns 1 and 2, he went way up the speedway, maybe to see if he could pull a little bit of a run off the corner, or maybe just take the tires and have to turn a little less hard, but lost a little bit of a gap there on that lead.
That lead cut down that last time by about 1/10 of a second as he starts to pace back down on Jason Brown. As I said before, we certainly do know that Dan can chase down Jason. It's just a matter of attrition, holding on to his stuff here on lap number 41, and seeing just how close he wants to get before he tries to make a move.
It looks as though the number 12 machine and the number 47 machine are the cream of the crop tonight. If behind Dan Smith is about a 3.4 second gap, that time about a 3.6 second gap, all the way back to third place, which is the 56 of Bo Brunig, and that has not been shrinking. The only time that has really been fluctuating is the gap between first and second.
Inside 2/10 of a second to lead this last time by for Jason Brown. Dan Smith a little bit higher on the entry to the corner, then he dives down low to exit. He's about half a car length this time, half a lane up above where Jason Brown goes. We'll come down and apex the corner right in the middle and roll off the speedway. This time by across the stripe. That lead even shorter, getting nearly inside 1/10 of a second for Dan Smith. We've got a heck of a battle for the lead heating up here on lap 45, coming to 46.
Yes, guys, I've just had a talk with Jason Brown's crew chief, and he has been screaming over the radio on Jason Brown, telling him to use all of the track, and not sure that Jason is getting that message.
Uh-oh, trouble. We got a car sideways in the front stretch.
And your leaders narrowly missed him. Jason Brown was on the bottom side of the speedway.
Looks like we're not going to get a yellow here either, Ryan. I believe that was the 7 of Rich Foreman. It was now off the speedway. The 7 of Rich Foreman got sideways in front of your leaders. Almost had them sweating and probably swearing inside their helmets, freaking out. But it looks like we didn't get a yellow. We got cars still stacked up 1-2 with about only a 2/10 of a second gap. Probably about a car length or two between Dan Smith and Jason Brown.
I'm telling you what, the rate that these guys are going at right now, they've already lapped 2 cars. They're going to lap Dan Holmes and Ron Quinzel, who run 6th and 7th. Holmes, this last time by, 14.5 seconds back of your leaders. So they'll be there within at least 2 to 3 laps in terms of actually getting around them. Here goes another pass for the lead on the high side of the speedway. Dan Smith trying to take advantage of that high side. Here comes KR back yelling at Jason Brown again as KR's making up his crew chief stories about trying to tell Jason where to drive the race car.
I'll have you know I'm a very well-respected journalist. I would never make up any stories. Just never check the sprint car forums on iRacing.
The term journalist is used extremely loosely if you couldn't figure that one out yourself. Dan Smith rather, best of both worlds. Rich Foreman has now made his way back to the speedway, and we're almost going 3 wide momentarily. Dan Smith pulls out momentarily. It's back in line behind Jason Brown. And now that 46 machine of Ron Quinzel about to go a lap down, and he's actually realistically picking the ideal line of where Dan Smith wanted to run a little bit. So he's just to the outside. 47 goes past 46 on lap 55.
I was going to mention that there, Ryan, that it looked like Quinzel didn't realize the leaders came up on him that quickly, and he had that bottom lane blocked off. Maybe he caught the blue and yellow cross flag going across the stripe and realized that the leaders were right on him, moved up a lane there, but proved to be nothing too worrisome for Jason Brown and Dan Smith as they now have put 4 different cars a lap down. The only cars that remain on the lead lap is the top 5.
And Jim Vig is 9 seconds behind your leaders. It allowed, though, Bo Brunig cut the lead down to 2.4 seconds. Alex Orient's also closing in a little bit. as those two were working through lap traffic. This time the lead increasing by a little bit, up to about 3.5 tenths of a second for Dan Smith as he trails Jason Brown.
You know, Ryan, for a little while there, I was liking what Dan Smith was doing. Dan seemed to drive the car in and let it roll up the speedway, and as he apexed, he got back in it and shot down the banking, which gave him a little bit more of a run on Jason Brown. But the only thing I do not like about that is that it doesn't provide much opportunity for passing, as he's going to need Jason to slip off that apron for him to put those underneath of him. Jason's doing a real good job hugging that white line.
Absolutely, and to emphasize on that, what you just said there, Brett, in terms of Jason Brown, he's run pretty much a perfect race so far. Now, I know if I jinx him, I'm not going to be on any broadcast from here on out. But so far, in the 60 laps, he hasn't shown any flaws. He's pretty daggone good on lap 61 as well, this time across the stripe. That lead inside 1/10 of a second, though. How hard does Dan Smith continue to push himself, though?
I think Jason Brown's in a little bit more of a defensive mode here if he wants to steal this win from Dan Smith, because it looks like Dan Smith might have the car beat. He's been all over Jason Brown's tail ever since conceding the race lead.
And we also don't exactly know how Jason Brown is driving that car. He's rolling on the bottom side of the speedway, so if somebody's going to have to pass him, it's going to have to be Dan Smith up high.
Ryan, it looked like Dan Smith made contact with the inside wall there going into 1 and 2. I hope that didn't mess up his handling or shift the axle, bend the radius rocker. You know, because we were about to have a pretty good race for the lead on our hands if Dan keeps riding around and chasing Jason around.
Yeah, that lead went from 0.2 of a second back to 0.7 of a second as they flash across the stripe this time by here on lap 66. It's back down to 0.5 of a second. So maybe now is go time for Dan. Maybe Dan's tired of, quite frankly, screwing around, and he's ready to get after this thing and, as he would say, get it. .4 of a second the lead this last time by for Jason Brown. Your front row flip-flop. Jason Brown started second. He runs first. Dan Smith started first. He runs second as we get close to putting David Flick 2 laps down. And there goes Jason Brown up to the high side of the speedway there momentarily, and it allowed Dan Smith to close in even further. That lead going to be, I imagine, inside 1/10 of a second this time by. It was inside 0.2 last time by the stripe.
Also not too far in front of them is your second place point standings driver, the number 17 of Jim Vig. Jim Vig coming narrowly close, going a lap down himself.
It's impressive that Bo Brewing and Alex Oriens have been able to stick with, for the most part, your top 2 runners. Here goes Smith to the outside. The lead 2 car lengths this time to 3 and 4. Smith able to get a good run off the corner, and this time by across the stripe, it's going to be .108, just a hair above. 1/10 of a second, the lead sits right now for Jason Brown. Here on a lap number 72.
You know, Ryan, our hard charger right now is currently the number 50 of Bo Brunig, and early on in the race, when he had to work his way up through the field, about a 3.8 second difference from the race lead, and about a 3.6 to second place. Well, as it stands now, with Jason and Dan both having to deal with lap traffic, Bo Brunig has closed that gap down to 1.8 seconds, the race leader. So he has cut that absolutely in half, and maybe, just maybe, with 25 laps to go, we may see Brunig creep up to the front.
Here we go with lap traffic again. Jim Vig sits in that 17 machine. He's going to hit the high side this time in a 3 and 4. Pretty much get completely out of the way of your leaders. A smart driver there, and Jim Vig gets out of the way, pretty much throws up his white flag. And lets Jason Brown and Dan Smith roll on by as the lead for Brown grows back to 0.4 of a second with the final quarter of this race rolling right now.
That was an absolute classy move out of the number 17 of Jim Vig, as he did not want to get in the way as his two teammates are battling for a race win.
Well, I kind of had a suspicion if Dan Smith's going to hold on to it, maybe he'll hold on for about 80%. The 80% mark of that race, of this race, is coming up in a little more than a lap and a half. Maybe that's the point that Dan Smith throws all of his cards on the table and starts to just go for it, find out what he's got. At that point, if he messes up, he's got enough time to rally back. We've already seen that Dan can go to just about a second behind and bring it all the way back to being nearly the leader. Here we got lap number 80 on the speedway right now. Your leader, Jason Brown, leads Dan Smith, Bo Brunig, Alex Oriens. Those top four are the only four on the lead lap. Jim Vig is fifth, but he is a lap down.
Also, we do have one car that has returned to the pit area after getting a little out of shape early on. That is a 7 of Rich Foreman. Rich Foreman has taken his 7 car to the pits and may be done for the evening.
Here's Smith on the high side of the speedway. Maybe he's trying to garner up some momentum. His car's work even further in on Ron Quinzel now. Quinzel rolls around the bottom side of the speedway. See if Smith can grab a good run here on a lap number 83 and do something with it as they approach lap traffic again. That 46 machine of Quinzel going to get out of the way quickly.
Another classy move here with 46 of Ron Quinzel. I love seeing guys being very respectful of other drivers. Jason Brown off the pace.
Jason Brown got stupid loose off of turn number 4, and that gives the lead to Dan Smith. Smith might be gone.
Hang on a second here, Ryan. Let's look back to third place. Remember how I mentioned Bo Brunig closed that lead to 1.8 seconds. He's now at 1.1. Brunig is coming on strong, but we only have 15 laps left.
15 laps is plenty of time. About a tenth of a second a lap is what Bo Brunig has to gain. He's a little bit slower this last time by. So now we basically flip roles. Dan Smith is your leader. He started on the pole. Jason Brown sits second. And that lead growing for Dan Smith.
With Dan Smith back to the lead, we're going to see just how much of a cat and mouse game Dan Smith was playing. If maybe he was riding the tail of Jason Brown just to not push his car too much but stay right with the leader. See maybe if Jason Brown did too much up trying to defend the lead, as that lead once again grew to 3/10 now. He has a 3/10 gap over his teammate, number 12 of Jason Brown.
Here we go on lap number 89, 4/10 of a second to lead. And then another second back to Bo Brunig. If Bo Brunig's got anything, it's going to have to come, I believe, in the form of your top two getting together, getting into somebody else, getting into the wall, which we've seen both of them have mishaps. Here we go on David Fleck. This might be a bit of a challenge for Dan Smith. Gets trapped behind that 56 machine momentarily, then is able to squeeze past him. Bo Brunig closing in even further. 1.2 seconds the gap. Now inside a second for Brunig. 3/10 of a second for Jason Brown. Here with 9 to go.
But Dan Smith's 47 machine is absolutely impressive. He is so quick. No, there's only a pretty narrow lane. He can move that car 2-3 lanes and make it multiple car widths wide. Really been improvising on that, on shooting down off the bank and get a run off the corner. As we come across that time with 7 to go, Jason Brown 3/10 back, and Bo Brunig now only 8/10 back. Brunig maybe have a shot at the win, but he's going to challenge for second if he keeps up this pace.
We've stayed caution free to this point. 4/10 the lead. The lead grows on both spectrums for Dan Smith this last time by. If you were watching NASCAR right now, this is where there would be a debris caution. You go on board with Bo Brunig. See what he sees. 4/10 of a second is the lead for Jason Brown. A little more than 8/10 of a second the lead for Bo. Gap for Bo Brunig right now. Brunig closing in even further on Jason Brown. Those two within 2/10 of each other as Dan Smith pulls away. Inside 5 to go.
Brunig is a shark smelling blood right now. He is all over the tank of that 12 machine.
He can't screw around with Jason Smith for too long, though. Jason Brown for too long, though, rather. I'm getting these two mixed up every night. Brunig closing in even further this time on Jason Brown. Less than 1/10 of a second. Will be 2 to go, this time by the penultimate lap for Dan Smith. Anybody have anything for him? Smith's got 2 laps to go to claim what would be his 3rd win of the season. Coming to the white flag for Dan Smith. Lap 100 is going on right now. He holds a 7/10 of a second lead. From this point on, he can pretty much cruise. Final time down the back straightaway through turn 3 and 4. His 3rd win of the season comes in Pensacola. Dan Smith wins at Five Flags Speedway.
Brunig was pushing his car across the stripe as he got to the outside of Jason Brown coming off of 4. Pushed it a little too hard, got a little swirly, made contact with the front stretch wall. Give 2nd place to your number 12 of Jason Brown. Jason Brown led over half of this race as well as Dan Smith. Brunig coming home in 3rd will round out your podium.
Dan Smith going to park it on the front straightaway. Jason Brown and Bo Brunig roll into pit lane. And Brown's going to pop back out, roll his way to the front straightaway. Take a word to chat with our top 3 podium finishers. Let's begin with your winner, picking up his 3rd win of the season to go along with a pair of trophies from Lucas Oil and Irwindale. How about it, Mr. Dan Smith?
Sorry about that, man. Bo come in hot, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, we just saw that. Bo Brunig's doing maybe he's got some girl to impress or something. I don't know. He's trying to flip around and everything else. But that was a heck of a race, my friend. Congratulations on a well-deserved win.
Thanks, man. I was just trying to keep Jason honest. He wanted to go a little harder there in the first, 3rd quarter of the race than I wanted to go at that point. So I just let him on by. And, man, I knew I could not let him get away from me in traffic. I had to stay on him in traffic, and we managed to do that. But this top 3 podium, man, JCE suspension works, dude. Every one of these cars are on the same setup tonight, and that is just freaking awesome.
I had to take a guess, and these guys kind of allude to it, but I had to say that I figured if you 3 aren't on the exact same setup, it's got to be pretty daggone close, because at the end of the day, it comes down to you guys as drivers, and it was certainly extremely entertaining. I would have loved to see what would have happened if Bo Brunig wouldn't have been all the way back in 8th.
Yeah, his qualifying run really surprised me, man. I really thought that he'd be up there. I thought Alex would be up here, too. I don't know where he's finished at. I haven't looked yet, man. But, Ryan, I'm telling you, man, Jason was setting a pace that I wasn't comfortable with. I didn't know if we'd last 100. And that last 10 laps, man, I don't know if you can see it up in the booth, but my right rear was gone. I was all over the place.
Dan Smith, anybody that you want to thank before we let you go here?
Yeah, big shout out to for the new official season, 2018 season 1, I believe. Anyway, we got a new paint job on the car. We got Barney's Farm on board, and that's pretty much it, man. We got VLR, Team Victory Lane Racing, and of course the Spike Chassis series sponsors, Spike Chassis, of course, St. Pierce Chevrolet, Double Clutch, Kenny's Components, and Hoosier Tire Midwest. Ryan, Brett, KR, whoever's up there in the booth tonight, thanks, man. It's going to be an exciting month of pavement here in the JSRL series, my brothers.
That's your feature winner here tonight, picking up his 3rd win of the season. Dan Smith, appreciate the time, my friend.
Thanks a lot, Ryan. Thanks for all you do, too, man. And big shout out to Jason and Bo on knocking these podium finishes out tonight, man.
Speaking of
again,
Jason
Mr.
as
Dan
well,
Smith.
let's go ahead and talk to Jason, our 2nd place finisher on the evening. Jason, that number 12 J Skins machine was a rocket ship for the majority of the race, and it looks like your teammate may have edged you out there at the end as you got a little loose off of turn 4. Go ahead and tell us what was going through your mind. Were you a little defensive there with Dan all over you?
I was just trying to run a smart race. 100 laps is a really long time, and I know that we were both fighting the same things. I don't know that we were on identical setups, but they were pretty close. I knew that towards the end that we were all going to be fighting for grip, and that's just the way things are in these cars, and it was just trying to stay ahead of them without taking us both out and conserving something for the end.
Looks like you definitely had a car for 100 laps for sure, as you definitely ended up on the podium tonight, and we had nearly half the field. We did have half the field go a lap down, so you and Dan were setting a blistering pace, and it's nice to see 3 cars handle up on the top. 3 cars of you guys, that your teammates here on the podium. So, Jason, we know that Dan hit on the setups there. So, you got anybody else helps out in the pit area? Maybe want to thank?
I want to thank my teammates Dan and Bo. They both put a lot of time in on these cars. Bo's a bit of a rookie this year in the pavement sprint cars. I don't want to say he's a total new in these cars. He's got a little bit of experience driving sprint cars, but
he's not driving like no rookie, that's for sure.
No, he's not. He's definitely a force to be reckoned with, and their help has been invaluable this season, no doubt about it. And I also like to thank my sponsors: Spike Chassis, Double Clutch, Hoosier Tire Midwest, Kenny's Components, and Sam Pierce Chevrolet.
Congratulations on your podium finish tonight here, Ryan. I know you may be a little upset with second place, but when you got all 3 teammates on the top podium, I mean, you can't be too upset with that.
No, I'll definitely take it. This bunch here is the best pavement sprint car drivers on iRacing. You go over to so many other series, and it's the same guys running the front of the races. So, you know, to finish up front among these guys, everybody in this field is definitely an accomplishment.
Well, congratulations on your second place finish here tonight, as we're going to jump over and talk to your teammate as well, and rounding out your podium in third place, number 50, Bo Brunig. Bo, first and foremost, let's go back and walk through your qualifying efforts there, and maybe tell us what happened. You got a little out of shape.
It was pretty pathetic, wasn't it?
That's not the words I would choose to use, but
no, it was pretty bad. You know, I worked with Dan on the pavement stuff. I'm trying to get better, and I like the way this track works, and I had been really fast in practice and everything, and I just got too excited and screwed up and missed my marks and tried to save it, and it didn't save. So, but out, wreck the car, go to the backup, start from the back, and I'll be darned we got a top 3.
Yeah, you couldn't be too upset with that, as you are tonight's hard charger, advancing 5 positions from an 8th starting place. We know your teammates were looking for you in qualifying, and I tell you what, it would have been a great race. You guys all 3 battle it out for the win there.
Yeah, I was. I seen those 2 get out front, and I had to go pretty hard early on to try to get, pick off them cars, and by the time I got to third, I think they were 4 or 5 seconds ahead. So the fact that I even got up to them was tip of my cap right there. But yeah, I'm getting good at passing cars on pavement. I keep starting from the back like I am.
Oh, absolutely. I would say don't downplay your efforts there, Bo. That was an impressive run. I'll tell you what, Ryan and we both tried out the asphalt the 1 week in the practice series, and we couldn't complete more than 5 laps without looping it. So definitely be very proud of your efforts here tonight, and I'm actually thoroughly impressed that you're a first-time rookie asphalt driver finishing on the podium here at Five Flags Speedway in Pensacola.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, this is only the fourth race on the pavement, I think, for me, and to have 2 top 3s out of it is definitely pretty awesome, and obviously big picture. Keep that point lead, and I know we got another pavement race next week, and then I get 2 of my favorite tracks back on the dirt at Volusia and Lanier. So hopefully I can pad that point lead a little bit, give me some cushion before we head to the final 3 pavement races of the season.
Yeah, you definitely looked very strong, and qualifying efforts may have changed your night around a little bit, but maybe you'll see me jump out of a commentator role and see if I can go wheel to wheel with you on the dirt, because that's definitely my preference. But congratulations, Bo. Congratulations on rounding out the podium here tonight at Five Flags Speedway. We're looking forward to seeing you next week.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jason and Dan, for the help with the setup and just driving these cars, and you guys for the broadcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
That's Bo Bruning. He finishes in the 3rd spot and is tonight's hard charger. He goes from 8th up to 3rd. Your final finishing order here tonight: Dan Smith taking home the win, Jason Brown 2nd, Bo Bruning 3rd, Alex Oriens 4th. Those top 4, the only 4 on the lead lap. Jim Vig 5th, Dan Holmes, Ron Quinzel, David Flick, and Rich Foreman, rounding out your field of 9 here tonight. Proud sponsors of the JSRL Spike Chassis Sprint Car Series is Spike Chassis. They're located in Brownsburg, Indiana. Spike Chassis manufactures championship-winning open-wheel midget, wing, and non-wing sprint cars. In addition, Spike Chassis offers a large inventory of open-wheel parts, race car setup, fabrication, and machine shop services. For all of your winning needs, you can check out #WinWithSpike or find them on the web at www.spikechassis.com. Another proud sponsor of the JSRL Spike Chassis Sprint Car Series is Sam Pierce Chevrolet. The best deals for Chevrolet are in the country. Visit sampiercechevrolet.com to check out their inventory. The JSRL Spike Chassis Sprint Car Series is powered by Kinney's Components. Kinney's Components specializes in design consultation, engineering, production, and custom fabrication to meet your exact specifications and needs. They use advanced composites such as carbon fiber, Kevlar, and fiberglass, and are dedicated to building high-quality composite products for all types of racing machines. You can find them on the web at kinneyscomponents.com. The JSRL Spike Chassis Sprint Car Series runs on Hoosier tires. And Hoosier Tire Midwest Incorporated is the largest Hoosier racing tire distributor in the United States, serving from the Midwest through warehouses in Indianapolis and Plymouth, Indiana, along with Springfield, Illinois. From drag strips, road courses, and oval tracks, dirt and asphalt, sprint cars, midgets, late models, and even street cars, Hoosier Tire Midwest has winning tires for all of your needs. Check them out on the web at racetires.com. 9 cars taking to Pensacola here tonight at the Five Flags Speedway. My friends, round number 7's been a good one.
Oh, go ahead, KR. Our pit reporter is going to jump in here.
I was going to say it was a great race. We went flag to flag with no issues. And Rich Foreman, the only one who got caught out, I was unable to get a word with him. But if I had gotten a word with him, I imagine that he would have said something about the camera flashes got in his eyes, and that's why he crashed.
If you don't know, Rich Foreman is the photographer for the United States Auto Club. If you follow USAC in any form of social media, most of the time the photos that you see are his in terms of promotion and things like that. Rich does one heck of a job in terms of working. He's a full-time USAC official, gets to travel around and do a lot of really, really cool things. So it's a job that I wish I certainly did have. But anybody else, Brett or KR, have anything before we wrap this one up here tonight?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into your updated point standings after tonight's main event. Your current points leader will remain up top after going from 8th to 3rd. The number, I believe it was 52, I'm missing it here. Number 50, Bo Brunig. It's with 1,008 total points, and behind him, no change in the top 2 and 3. Jim Vig will be 2nd, 46 points behind the lead. A little bit of a loss tonight. Dan Holmes will remain in 3rd, also losing a little bit of a points here as he's now 54 behind the lead. Following him will be will be in 4th, Bruce Jones. 5th place will be your 7-time champion, who is not with us tonight, Ray Farlow, followed by Jason Brown. A tie for 17, Alex Oriens and Dan Smith. Tyson Landis will be 9th, and 10th, an asphalt regular not with us tonight as well, is the Jeffrey Stanton.
There's Mr. Brett Strickler with your updated point standings here tonight. Next, Monday night, New Smyrna, 100 laps, basically the same format. 2 pavement races, 2 dirt races, and then 2 pavement races. And just like that, our season is over. Flying by already, Brett.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just disappointed in myself that I missed the Williams Grove race. That one was definitely my favorite, and shout out to, I believe it was Bo Brunig that won that event. But
you did.
Missed my own hometown race because, let's just say, some deer needed to run around in front of my stand a little bit.
Well, if Mr. K.R. Stolfus is over himself and doesn't have anything else to say, it's been one heck of a race here in Pensacola, Florida. Dan Smith taking home the win. It was a great battle with Jason Brown and Bo Brunig with a valiant effort towards the end, but in the end could not come home with the win. Until next week, next Monday night, we'll see you again at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our entire crew, Mr. K.R. Stolfus and Mr. Brett Strickler, along with Jason Brown. I'm Ryan Kent Jr. Until then, good night and so long from round number 7 in Pensacola. We will see you next week with the JSRL Spike Chassis Sprint Car Series.